The spinal cord forms the most caudal part of the central nervous system. It extends from the great occipital foramen, where it connects with the brain, down to the first lumbar vertebra. Along its length, the spinal cord gives rise to several nerve bundles. The roots of the 31 pairs of spinal nerves emerge from the anterior and posterior roots of the grey matter, the central part of the cord. These roots then pass through the white matter, the peripheral part of the spinal cord, forming ascending or descending nerve bundles that connect the peripheries of the body to the central nervous structures. If you feel a chill down your spine right now, you know why. Let's start with some basic spatial coordinates. The spinal cord is a central nervous system structure that plays a crucial role in connecting the brain with the rest of the body. It consists of a dense network of nerve fibers running through the vertebral canal, extending from the upper margin of the atlas, the first cervical vertebra, to the first or second lumbar vertebra, with the total length of about 45 centimeters. This length is approximate because the lower end can vary depending on factors such as age, sex, and trunk length. At its upper end, the spinal cord transitions into the medulla oblongata, a section of the brainstem. At the lower end, it tapers into what is called the medullary cone. From this cone originates the filum terminale, a fibrous cord that attaches to the posterior surface of the first coccygeal vertebra. The surface of the spinal cord is covered by the meninges, membranes made of vascularized connective tissue that provide physical protection. From the outside to the inside, there are 3 types of meninges, distinguished by their connective tissue. They consist of the dura mater, arachnoid, and pia mater. The dura mater is composed of fibrous connective tissue, while the arachnoid and pia mater consist of loose connective tissue. These 3 layers are separated by meningeal spaces: the epidural space located between the periosteum and the dura mater, the subdural space between the dura mater and the arachnoid, and the subarachnoid space between the arachnoid and the pia mater. These protective membranes are present not only along the spinal cord but also in the brain, providing crucial protection to all key structures of the central nervous system. Regarding the spinal cord, several structures help hold it in place along its length. The ligament connecting to the medulla oblongata, the spinal nerve roots, the denticular ligaments branching from the pia mater, and the filum terminale. Together, these structures keep the spinal cord securely in place and allow it to move in sync with the spine. Let's take a closer look at its macroscopic structure. As mentioned earlier, the diameter of the spinal cord does not remain uniform along its entire length. Instead, it gradually tapers from the head towards the caudal end, where it terminates in the filum terminale, a connective tissue structure. Anatomically, the filum terminale can be divided into 2 parts. The upper portion, known as the internal filum terminale, extends down to the second sacral vertebra and remains enclosed by the 3 meninges and their associated spaces. At this level, the subarachnoid space expands into a dilation called the terminal cisterna. The lower portion, referred to as the external filum terminale, merges with the 3 meninges to form a single sheath, creating one unified structure. If we observe the spinal cord along its entire length, several interesting features stand out. First, there are 2 fusiform enlargements. one in the cervical region and the other in the lumbar region, from which neurons responsible for limb innervation branch off. Additionally, the outer surface of the cord is rich in anatomical details, including fissures and grooves. Posteriorly, the shallow posterior medium sulcus extends inward, connecting with the posterior septum, which reaches deeper into the grey matter. About 3 mm from the median sulcus, the posterolateral sulcus is visible, serving as the entry point for the posterior roots of the spinal nerves. Between the posterior median sulcus and the posterolateral sulcus lies a section of white matter called the posterior cord. In the upper portion, this cord is divided into two bundles by the posterior intermediate sulcus. These two bundles are called the cuneate fasciculus laterally and the gracile fasciculus medially. On the anterior side, the anterior median fissure runs along the entire length of the spinal cord and is deeper than the posterior median fissure. Similarly to the posterior side, about 3 mm from the median fissure, we find the anterolateral sulcus, marking the exit point for the anterior roots of the spinal nerves. Between the anterior median fissure and the anterolateral sulcus lies a section of white matter known as the anterior cord. Unlike the posterior side, the anterior median fissure is present only in certain sections between the fissure and the anterolateral sulcus. Between the anterolateral and the posterolateral sulci is another section of white matter referred to as the lateral cord.
This video was created thanks to Anatomy Learning, an interesting free web app. The hyperlink can be found in the description. Instead, the text used for the concepts is Human Anatomy of Eddie Hermes. Thanks for watching.